Hey, hey, hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. The Queen of Pop is back. Rebecca Black is back. With a social media post, not a song, not an album, although that may be in the cards one day, we will see. But Miss Rebecca Black, who you may remember from 9 years ago. It's been 9 years, and to be fair, she was trying her best to keep putting out music and stay in the public eye afterwards. But there was a point at which she kind of slipped back into, I guess, what you could just say is normal life. And that was probably around the time when I presumed this song came out. It's funny that it came out 9 years ago, but for whatever reason, it feels like it dropped in 2015. It feels like it came out so much more recently. Maybe that's because I'm older and that's my perception of time, although there may be some younger viewers in my audience who don't even really remember this hitting the internet. I mean, it was almost 10 years ago at this point. And while many have probably seen the Friday video because it is a very viral song and it's a meme, it's a gag, it's a goof, they might not remember the incredibly large amount of negative attention that this song and Rebecca Black got off of it. Also the mainstream media attention too, because this caught on so virally that it became this huge point of discussion on news talk shows and morning shows and that sort of thing. Rebecca even made a pretty funny appearance in a Katy Perry music video. So everyone across the internet knew who this girl was when this song came out. And again, a lot of that negativity when it originally dropped, I'm sure was intense for a very young mind. I'm not of the opinion that you need to keep the teens and you need to keep the young people off the internets. If that was the case, there'd be a good portion of my audience just evaporated right there. Because there are a lot of young music fans that watch my content. But do keep in mind that the things that you put out onto the internet, if it is easy to link your name and your face and your personal everything, your IRL everything to them, they can follow you around pretty much forever. I mean, no matter what Rebecca Black does past this point, I mean, Friday is always going to be there in some capacity, whether that is a negative capacity or a positive capacity. Friday is always going to be there because it was such a huge moment that so many people are going to remember, and that can kind of poison the well when you're meeting and introducing yourself to new people, doors opening to new opportunities, because people make assumptions based off of silly things like a music video that might have come out when you were a teenager. And it's a lot of responsibility to put on someone who's such a young person, especially since no young person, nobody who is Rebecca Black's age, is coming out with a song and a music video of that production quality all by themselves, which is why whenever I've talked about this song and also other tracks connected to it, I have also talked about Mr. Patrice Wilson, who is a music video director, a producer, a songwriter. In my opinion, kind of just from what I can see from his internet activity and, you know, the music videos that he comes out with, a bit of a creep, a bit of a sleazy industry guy who made a business out of taking money from kids and their parents and trying to turn them into music superstars by producing songs for them, doing music videos for them, which I guess is harmless enough in a vacuum, harmless enough in isolation. But when the music isn't good, and there's no way that any of this that you're doing would break them into the industry, and putting it out onto the internet is getting them all of this negative attention because people are laughing at them and harassing them, and it's in a way ruining their public image if they do want to have a public image into the future, or even if they want to maintain a private life at some point. In my opinion, that's kind of irresponsible because you're asking kids to partake in choices that they might not necessarily have the capacity to think long-term about, because Rebecca Black, when she's 13, might have a different opinion of putting out Friday versus when she's 33, you know, and she's worried about getting that promotion at work or something, or she's concerned with just wanting to lead a normal life. Teenagers are already notoriously self-conscious without a video or a music video that's embarrassing being spread across the internet. And what Rebecca Black tells us and reminds us of in this post is how hard it can be to deal with those feelings, especially when they are just hitting you relentlessly as you're aging into adulthood. 9 years ago today, a music video for a song called Friday was uploaded to the internet. Above all things, I wish I could just go back and talk to my 13-year-old self who was terribly ashamed of herself and afraid of the world, to my 15-year-old self who felt like she had nobody to talk to about the depression she faced, to my 17-year-old self who would get to school only to get food thrown at her and her friends. Now, nothing that Rebecca Black is saying here is out of the norm for what other teenagers deal with and have had to deal with. But imagine all of that on top of like half the internet just hating on you relentlessly. I mean, there have been tons and tons of news stories about teenagers trying to kill themselves off of some mean thing someone or a group of people said about them on Facebook, gossiping about them, spreading rumors about them. So, imagine all of this amplified 10, 20 times because it's literally the entire world that is having a negative reaction to you. To my 19-year-old self, who had almost every producer and songwriter tell me they'd never work with me. At 19, Rebecca Black has to be in her early 20s now, so this is not that long ago. Whatever she's talking about here in terms of producers and songwriters not wanting to work with her is most likely still the case. It's funny that we are in an industry where there are producers and songwriters who will still happily and unquestioningly collaborate and work with people who have a history of abuse, but they won't work with the Friday girl, which I'm sure is how they perceive Rebecca Black much of the time. Hell, to myself a few days ago who felt disgusting when she looked in the mirror, I'm trying to remind myself more and more that every day is a new opportunity to shift your reality and lift your spirit. You are not defined by any choice or thing. Time heals and nothing is finite. It's a process that's never too late to begin. And so here we go. This might be a weird thing to post, but honesty feels good, if nothing else. A little platitude heavy and a little inspirational there toward the end, but it is still worth noting that what Rebecca Black went through, despite the fact that it happened online, is still a very real and a very intense thing. Some people deal with ridicule differently, especially if it's on the internet. I can tell you there has been over the years a number of people who have tried to attempt much of what I do, reviewing music, putting your opinions out there, this, that, and the other thing, and have essentially been turned around by the fact that there is a lot of negativity out there. There is a lot of hate. There are people who, weirdly enough, will stop at nothing to try to make your life miserable by typing things at you through their phone or through their keyboard. Why they feel the need to do this, who the hell knows, but they do. It's something not everyone is built for. And when I made this choice to do that, I was an adult who consciously had in my mind what risks I was taking by making myself known on the internet. That means anytime I would go anywhere or do anything, meet someone, try to get a job, I would be easily Googleable. I would then have a history online, as it were. And even though much of you enjoy my content and like my reviews, and I'm happy about that, this is still something that could negatively impact me if I decide to go off and do literally anything else. Which is why when I see kids or parents trying to recreate almost that same Rebecca Black Friday scenario for themselves, I have to kind of give like a, really? You want to do that? You aren't thinking of what your kid emotionally could be going through if this doesn't pan out the way that you want it to. I don't specifically fault Rebecca or her parents because in a way they were kind of patient zero on this one. Certainly not the first child star or anything like that, but if you see what happened to her off of working with Patrice Wilson and you think, yeah, that's what I want for my kid, you're kind of an idiot. After having said all that and read all of this, I will say though, I hope that Rebecca Black is in a better place. And I hope that, look, if Rebecca Black does care about making music and wants to put out more songs and wants to record more stuff, I hope that there are people who are actually willing to work with her and do bring talent to the table. I mean, hey, there was a time, and this was around when Friday was dropping, where memes were not so much the zeitgeist in terms of music promotion. And now memes are nothing but music promotion these days. Musicians and labels use memes all the time to promote artists that they're trying to get out there. So, this in a way could end up being a leg up, I suppose. It would be an amazing story of metamorphosis to go from Friday to just dropping bangers. So, I don't know if someone could possibly make that happen. I'm sure vocally and artistically, Rebecca is in a much different place in her 20s than she was in her teens. So I don't know. I personally would be interested. I personally would be curious as to what a new Rebecca Black song would sound like. Let me know down in the comments if you feel the same way or differently, and what you think of this post as well. You guys are the best. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Rebecca Black, forever.